27. Stage 2. Today is D-Day. July 8th, 2018. On July 8th at 10 a.m., a team of divers, SEALs, and military personnel files stone-faced and serious into Tam Luang. If everything goes smoothly, they expect it to take about 5 hours for the divers to access Chamber 9, prepare the children, and bring them back to the forward base in Chamber 3. Everyone wishes they could bring the entire team out at once, but there aren't enough masks, capable rescue divers, or hours in a day to get it all done. They have acquired 4 full face masks, which means they can bring 4 boys out today. But who will be first? Dr. Harris has told the Thai SEALs that all the boys are both physically and mentally fit enough for the journey, so it doesn't matter in what order the children are dived out. The decision has been left up to the wild boars themselves. Coach Egg huddled the team together the day before to discuss the order of the rescue. No one was particularly keen to be first. All the boys have bonded with the SEALs and with Dr. Pak. All of a sudden, it seems hard to leave them and hard to leave the group. Coach Egg suggested that the boys who live the farthest away from the cave should be the ones to exit first. That way, they can go through town and tell everyone along the way that the rest of the team is coming out. The wild boars have no idea that not only are their parents anxiously waiting just outside, but the entire world is watching to see if they are going to make it. Using this logic, Note, Earn, Knight, and Nick will go first. The second group will be Dom, Adun, Bill, and Mick. Finally, Titan, P, Pong, and Mark will be brought out on the third day, along with Coach Egg. Dr. Pak and the 3 Thai SEALs will dive themselves through after all the boys are out. The boys have been prepared for the process. The day before, Dr. Harris and his dive partner, Craig Challen, dived all the way back to Chamber 9 to get comfortable with the conditions. Dr. Harris had a note for the boys, translated into Thai. 1. It will take a tablet that will make you feel funny. 2. Come down to the water side and sit with me. Get a shot in one leg. Get a shot in the other leg. 3. Fall asleep. 4. Wake up in bed. Dr. Harris watched the boys' faces for signs of fear. Instead, the boys nodded. To him, they seemed sort of unemotional about the whole thing. Yup, yeah, yep. Not a trace of panic on anyone's face. Dr. Harris had been impressed and relieved that the boys seemed so at ease with the terrifying journey they were about to take. It's hard to imagine that out of all 12 kids, not one of them was nervous about getting shots or being dived out of the cave. But the children were likely being both polite and practical. It would have been bad behavior to make a fuss about it. Plus, it didn't matter whether they made a fuss or not. This was the only way they were getting out of the cave, so they might as well cooperate. They trusted the men taking care of them, and they focused on the last step in the process, finally waking up in a bed outside the cave. Even though the boys seem very cool about the plan, Dr. Harris asks the SEALs to take the group up the hill and around the corner so they don't have to see their friends getting the injection. No matter how brave you are, it's no fun watching other people get shots. 14-year-old Noah is up first. He is kitted up in multiple wetsuits to keep him warm, a buoyancy vest, and a hood. He takes anti-anxiety medicine, and then he is injected with a sedative. Once all the drugs are given, Dr. Harris fits Noah with a precious full-face mask that has been flown halfway around the globe just for this mission. Noah's wrists and ankles are secured with zip ties to protect his arms and legs from dragging and getting injured. The valve on Noah's air tank is opened, and his mask fills with air that is 80% oxygen. Breathing this mixture will help ensure that Noah's blood absorbs the maximum amount of oxygen. That extra oxygen will buy his brain cells precious time if his mask floods or if he has problems breathing along the way. Dr. Harris would like to hope for 0 problems, but he knows that isn't likely. With Noah fully sedated and fitted with his mask, the doctor gently lowers the boy's face under the water to check the seal. It's a bizarre moment, dipping a kid's face underwater in the back of a pitch-black cave, but nothing about this mission has been ordinary. Noah's breathing halts for a moment. Dr. Harris counts. After about 30 seconds, he sees the bubbles streaming from the outlet valve of Noah's mask. He's breathing normally. It's time to go. Jason Mallinson has volunteered to be the first rescue diver. He checks his own gear, and then notes one last time. Then he slides the boy off the slope and pulls him underwater. Dr. Harris watches the light from Jason's headlamp glow hazily under the surface. And then they are gone. Fall asleep, wake up in bed. After many conversations with coworkers, Dr. Harris has finally decided to give the boys a sedative called ketamine. Ketamine is a common drug used during surgeries when the patient needs to be unconscious, such as having their wisdom teeth removed. Given the right amount, the patient will go to sleep and stay asleep, even if they are getting a tooth yanked out of their skull. Unless the patient is already really sick to begin with, it's difficult to overdose or take too much of the drug. Because of this, ketamine is commonly used in field situations, like for soldiers on a battlefield or in natural disasters. Still, figuring out the right amount to give kids has been agonizing for Dr. Harris. Because children have a higher metabolism than adults, their bodies process drugs in their bloodstream faster. That means they wear off faster too. Dr. Harris is worried about the drugs wearing off before the boys are out of the cave. One side effect of ketamine is that patients can have intense hallucinations as the drugs wear off. Dr. Harris imagines what would happen if a boy came out of his sleep confused and hallucinating while underwater. How could he not panic? It would be a disaster. But Dr. Harris is also wary of giving the boys too much of the sedative. It's hard to say how the wild boars' bodies have been affected by their time in the cave and how they will respond to the drugs. Large doses of ketamine can cause apnea, or short periods where one doesn't breathe. The apnea is temporary, and once the boys' breathing resumed, the ketamine would actually stimulate their lungs to breathe. But it's something to worry about. If the children have any problems when they are in the middle of a sump, there will be no way for the rescue diver to help them. A boy could die, and his diver wouldn't be able to do anything except drag his body to the exit. In the end, Dr. Harris decides that the biggest danger is the boys waking up and panicking underwater. In that case, both the child and his rescue diver would certainly die. He has decided to go with a dose of 5 milligrams of ketamine per kilogram of the child's weight, a pretty big dose. Even then, he expects the drug will wear off after about 40 minutes, so he gives each rescue diver additional syringes to give the boys top-up doses along the way. Before they take the ketamine, the boys will be given a tablet of a drug called alprazolam, which is an anti-anxiety medicine. It reduces the likelihood that they will panic about what's to come, receiving the injection, putting on the face mask, and sliding into the cold water. It will also help reduce the hallucinations. The tablet usually causes people to have amnesia or forget what happens to them, so not only will the wild boars be asleep for their extraction, they hopefully won't remember any of it. The ketamine will be injected straight into the leg muscle, which will help it release into the bloodstream more steadily than if it's injected under the skin. In one leg, the ketamine sedative. In the other leg, atropine. Another side effect of the ketamine is that it increases your body's secretions. Patients on ketamine cough and drool, and tears leak out of their eyes. The atropine helps dry all this up. That's very important, because the last thing anyone wants is for the boys to start choking or coughing on their own saliva while they're underwater. 28. Alone in the